Doug has had one of the most interesting backstories of any brawler in the game, and that's saying a lot. From one of the worst brawlers in history for a very long time, to one of the best brawlers in the game, to a sort of balanced brawler just starting to fall off again, while all the while being one of the cheesiest brawlers in the game. In this video, we'll talk about Doug, his basics, and his interesting history, with an emphasis on why exactly Doug's original design was so horrendous. Let's start out with the basics. Doug is quite tanky at 10,400 health and has a fast movement speed. His main attack is basically a copy of Jackie's, dealing 2400 damage and healing 1200. The attack has a range of 3.33 tiles and a reload speed of 1.5 seconds. He also has a trait that allows him to also charge up his super while healing allies. Doug's super is a bit more unique, shooting out a hot dog that on impact allows the target to revive after being killed. If Doug auto-aims it, he uses the super on himself, and if he aims it, he uses it on his teammates. After 5 seconds, the super will automatically despawn. If someone dies with the hot dog, they will revive after 2 seconds, though without the invulnerability shield that usually comes with respawn. With the basics out of the way, let's get to talking about Doug. Let's start out with addressing the elephant in the room. Yes, Doug's main attack is basically a copy of Jackie's. And well, this lends to Doug having similar map preferences to Jackie, which is actually a quite unique set of maps. Maps like Parallel Plays and Canal Grande are especially well suited to the both of them, being able to take advantage of the short but important walls on the map, allowing them to turn into absolute menaces on those maps. But of course, Doug is his own brawler, with the main difference with Jackie of course being, well, his ability to heal. His ability to heal makes Doug a much more interesting brawler. Suddenly his ammo has not one, but 2 purposes, and this means players now have choices to make. Do you use your attack on offense against enemies, or do you heal your teammates? It's the same dilemma Byron players often face, and at the end of the day, there isn't a solid right answer. It really depends on the situation, though the way some of these Doug randoms play, you wouldn't think that way. But what makes Doug even more unique is his super. Doug's super makes his gameplay much more nuanced. Suddenly you have a tool that basically lets you prevent the fear of dying, which is a big one in Brawl Stars, especially in a mode such as Knockout. While it does seem broken, there is still skill involved when using it. Nowadays most players know to stop attacking when they see the hot dog icon, and wait until it's over to kill you. This is why it's important to properly time your super usage to when you know you'll die, though of course this comes with a bit more risk. There's also the option to use a super on a teammate. Just like Gus's shield, it has its pros and cons. Yes, it can get a lot of value, especially if you know the teammate's about to die, but as always, there's multiple risks with it. First of all, there's always the risk of missing the shot. Brawl Stars has made it a lot easier to hit over time, but even still, sometimes it's better just not to take the risk. There's also the risk of your teammate simply not getting enough value out of the super, either misusing it or just simply being trash. Overall, it should definitely be used on teammates more than people currently do, but there's still definitely reasons why you shouldn't use it on teammates. As I said in the intro, Doug is and always has been a very cheesy brawler. I'm not going to go in depth on his cheeses, but I'll talk about one that actually got patched pretty recently. Basically, Doug would give his hyper hot dog to Gray in Knockout. Gray would then teleport towards the enemies, and Doug would spam his attack, basically destroying all of the enemies with nearly 0 counters. Anyway, let's now talk a little bit about Doug's history. He, on release, and for a very long time, definitely longer than it should be, was one of, and at points, the worst brawler in the game. First of all, let's get back to the Jackie comparison. She's also been quite bad for a long time. And what happens when you make a Jackie copycat, but then remove any of the offensive viability that Jackie gets with her super and her gadget? You get a brawler that in theory should be really good, but in practice simply can't reach a single opponent. Doug had offensive tools like his gadget and his super, but he could never actually use them, because that would require getting close to the enemy, which he simply couldn't do. Furthermore, he literally couldn't get his super without getting close to the enemy. More importantly, he couldn't get his super by healing teammates like he can now. Furthermore, his super wasn't even that good originally. First of all, it was extremely difficult to hit if you wanted to use it on a teammate. Second of all, it made it so that you or your teammates would respawn with half health, not full health. This meant that you would basically be an easy target the moment you respawn, and since enemies had 2 seconds to prepare, you were probably gonna die. Finally, as just mentioned, it was even harder to actually get your super, as you couldn't get it from healing teammates, and unlike his counterpart Jackie, he couldn't even get it from a tank trait. Of course, he didn't stay in the F tier forever as he got multiple buffs to his super, gaining the healing trait, getting homing added to his super, and getting a very powerful Hypercharge. This all combined to make him a pretty balanced brawler, but even still, his main weakness being aggro burst brawlers are dominating the meta right now, meaning that, in his current state, without buffies, he's doomed to fall back into the F tier at some point. And this brings me to my final point. Doug is a failed experiment at combining the support and tank roles. He basically brought the worst of both worlds, bringing the weaknesses of being a tank and the flaws of being a support into one brawler. In trying to both tank and be a solid healer at the same time, Doug was sort of stretched too thin, not really being the best option at either. Doug can only heal at a short range, and someone like Jae Young or even a Pam can do the job better than him. And of course, for tanking, you've got a plethora of options that will fit much better in the current meta, with Doug not being one of them. Now let's talk about Doug's gadgets. Doug's first gadget sees his next main attack only heal allies, but double the amount. Let's be real, this is pretty mid. Yes, it does have its niche usage, but most of the time you won't get a crazy amount of value from this, especially not compared to his other gadget. Speaking of, Doug's second gadget sees his next main attack only damage, but double the amount. This is a very good gadget, as it helps cover up for one of Doug's biggest weaknesses, which is his inability to deal with high damage enemies. This allows him to deal high damage himself, though you still have the problem of getting near enemies. Now his star powers. Doug's first star power sees him heal for 100% of his health after using his super successfully on a teammate. This is one of those high ceiling, low floor star powers, as the amount of value you can get is incredible, basically reviving your teammate and yourself at the same time. However, it can definitely go very wrong if your teammate, well, doesn't revive. Doug's second star power sees his main attack also heal himself for 20% of his main attack damage. This is a solid and reliable star power, giving Doug much needed health, especially when trying to push up to get near enemies or when in a 1v1 situation. Doug's Hypercharge sees his main attack mirror for a teammate who he uses a super on. This can be very broken as seen with the grey Doug cheese, but overall I think it's actually pretty well designed. It forces you to actually be unselfish and use a super on a teammate rather than just hog it for yourself, while also giving you sufficient value to make up for forcing you to actually work with your team. Overall, Doug has been one of the most, intriguing stories in Brawl Stars. A brawler basically doomed to fail since his release with how he's been designed. It's no wonder that Doug has consistently been in the lower tiers of the meta. However, there have been flashes of brilliance, with rare meta appearances and constant cheese appearances, that have managed to keep Doug relevant to the present day. With his super as mechanically broken as his, it's a wonder that he's not managed to have a meaningful meta to himself, though that may change when his buffies come out. As always, if you liked the video, make sure to like and subscribe to help support the channel. If you want to support the content even further, become a member for some special perks like helping out on videos or choosing PowerPoint brawlers. Finally, watch this video, check out this playlist, join the Discord server, or check out my music channel if you like the music in the video.